Good afternoon to you. Mark Sutton with HurricaneTrack.com here with your hurricane outlook and discussion. It is Monday, July 20th, 2020, and boy, do we have a lot to talk about today. Look at all the tabs that I have open on today's lineup for topics, and let's just get on to it, shall we? No messing around. So we'll start off. This is interesting. A very important component of what we're looking at here. This is the total precipitable water. This is a product from the University of Wisconsin. And all of this orange-red color that you see through here, tropical waves in there, that's the moisture, the precipitable water in the atmosphere. And then these blue colors up here, this would all be dry air. And there's plenty of that around as well. So what I wanted to point out, in addition to the tropical waves, which are fairly easy to see, and we'll wait for the very last frame, and then we'll draw them in. One there, one there, one there, one there. This is the other thing I want to show you. Look at the animation here and how this group of pixels, if you will, is going from left to right across the screen. That is east to west. That is very, very important because of the next graphic I'm going to show you here. And that is the anomalies chart that updates always a day behind. So this is July 19th. The main development region through here is really starting to warm up, significantly so. This area continues to cool. It was actually, I'll show you in a moment on the graphical plot from Levi Cowan's site in just a moment. But the stage is really starting to get set here. We are about a month away from the traditional ramping up of the hurricane season. It's around August 15th to the 20th, around there, that we climatologically begin this ramping up of activity. The background state becomes more favorable. And think about it, that's another month from now, 30 more days or so, until we naturally would expect things to become busy. And we're already starting to see things getting busy ahead of schedule a little bit. No hurricanes anytime soon in the Atlantic Basin, but an uptick is coming nonetheless. And I think what I'm about to show you here as we go through is going to really bolster the argument that, and it's not even an argument anymore, it is the signs that we are seeing. They are really starting to come into focus now more and more, that August, September, October, for sure, and maybe even lasting on into and through November, are going to be very, very busy. So here is the map version, main development region right through here, tropical Pacific area, the Nino regions that we focus on there, and this is what it looks like graphically plotted. And this is the Nino 3.4 index, and you can see we crashed it very much so in the spring, and it was headed towards La Nina territory. Then things changed in the atmosphere, played cat and mouse, and we had this steady rise back. And now it's dropped again, and so we are just slightly in the negative area. So basically we are at neutral. So the biggest takeaway is no El Nino in the Pacific, period. It's not going to happen. 100% guaranteed no El Nino. And that in and of itself is a very favorable signal for the Atlantic. Now, let's take a look at the Atlantic and look at what this has done in just the last few days. I mean, honestly, so we were pretty steady overall, a little bit of a drop with that Saharan air event in here. But then in the last few days here, bam, we've seen this incredible jump in the sea surface temperature anomaly. Anomaly is a departure from the mean or the average. And it's the rate of warming as well. The distance between these plots is remarkable. That rapid increase in the last couple of days is just incredible. And now we are sitting at 0.7 Celsius on average above the long-term average across the main development region. And like this little area of red right in here, that's getting in towards 3 degrees Celsius, close to 3 Celsius above average. All of this region through here, very warm compared to average, and that is additional heat input into the ocean. And again, that westerly low-level flow that I showed you that's happening through here induces what we call downwelling, and it's the reverse of upwelling. Over here, the trades are stronger, and so you get this upwelling all through here. It allows colder water to come to the surface. And over here, we're having these westerly winds come across as part of this broader sort of monsoon trough that's set up out here. And that's helping to warm the water. The trade winds are not nearly as strong. The Saharan air influence, not nearly as much. And we are really starting to warm things up. Look at these anomalies over here in the western part of the basin, right up against the coastline, all around the islands through here. So keep that in mind, those anomalies close to the U.S. coastline, as we look at this. Actual sea surface temperatures, not anomalies. These are what they are if you went out and measured it, I guess is a good way to put it. So here's 28 Celsius, or about 82 Fahrenheit. That's all this yellow. There's 29. That's the lighter shade of orange. And there's 30 Celsius, the darker shade of orange. Wow! I mean, that is really, really warm for the last third of July. I went down to Wrightsville Beach yesterday evening with my kids, and I'm telling you what, that water was fantastic. I like warm water. You go in, and it felt like not much change from the atmosphere. You know what I mean? There wasn't that shock where you get in, and you're like, ooh, whoa, that's a little cold. No. It was like, oh, yeah. Wasn't quite bath water. That's offshore a little bit, that 30 Celsius. 30 Celsius, if I'm not mistaken, is about 85 degrees Fahrenheit. So, this is very, very warm water compared to average. The anomalies are warm. But the actual sea surface temperatures are also very warm. And we're getting to the point now where it's really going to start to matter as we go forward. In fact, the 26 Celsius line, which is what you need to even get hurricane development, which is about, well, just call it 80 degrees Fahrenheit. That line, I'm outlining it for you here, is right there. Let's just go ahead and include that bubble. Why not? Kind of smooth it out. Okay, it's getting on up there. Certainly the Delmarva is included now. So a fast-moving hurricane coming up the coast, just saying, it would have not much distance to travel over colder water. This is the kind of stuff that's going to matter as we go forward, okay? We'll see. Maybe it won't, but maybe it will. In the Gulf of Mexico, we say it's always warm enough, but holy mackerel. Wow. I mean, look at all that 30 degrees Celsius. Unbelievable. It's just getting set up. And if we go back and look at the, let's get rid of these, make some room at the anomalies, the Gulf running above the long-term average as well, except for this one little area right up against the Texas coastline. Probably some upwelling going on in that region. So the upper ocean heat content, it is very, very rare that I have ever seen this kind of level right up against the southeast coast like that. I can't remember. All through here, higher, look at this, almost into the orange right here off the Carolina coast, North Carolina. If you were to get a strong hurricane coming up through here, it could keep on going, and that upper ocean heat content is significant. And look, it goes right up to the Outer Banks there. None of that shelf water stuff this time around. Normally, there's this little area of shelf water that's just offshore that kind of acts as a buffer. Not this year, for whatever reason. I guess the way the wind is kind of pushing all that warm water towards the coast. That's all I can think of. And this is only going to increase because this is only July 20th. This map updated the 19th, but wow. And then all throughout the rest of the tropical Atlantic, this little line that I'm drawing here denotes the beginning of fairly substantial upper ocean heat content. Everything inside of that line, all the rest of this is ample fuel for something to develop and become very powerful, and it can become extremely powerful over here in the Western Caribbean, through the Florida Straits and the Bahamas, etc. Very, very common. That's not unusual. It is warmer than average by, almost a degree Celsius in some areas. Yes, I'm telling you, it's just remarkable. And now we just wait and see, do the hurricanes come and take advantage of it? Well, here we are, 3 areas to watch. Fortunately, the background state, despite what we're seeing here, you got 3 areas. It's going to create a lot of interest, a lot of social media. The tropics are picking up. A lot of tweets going out, a lot of Facebook. I bet you're going to see all kinds of so-and-so's weather page and so-and-so's tropical weather authority, whatever, making a lot about what's happening. But I want to caution you, and I'm not besmirching those people. I'm just, we're making it real, keeping it real, as they say. I know, as excited as I get about the opportunity to put my expertise to use, I know that we're not quite ready yet. You know what I mean? It's like watching the perfect pizza in the oven, the perfect cake, the best turkey you've ever baked. It's like, ooh, it looks good, but it's just not quite ready. And if you mess with it too early, it gets messed up. So, despite these three systems, I'm telling you, and I'm going to show you why in just a moment, we're not quite there yet, which is a good thing. Believe me, I'm not complaining because I'm going to be gone a lot from my family in August, September, and October. I guarantee it. And, the longer I can delay that, the better. I love my job. I love what I do. And I've got some incredible people that I work with. Some of the best technology in the world, no doubt about it. It speaks for itself. But, even I know, be careful, not what you wish for, because I don't wish for hurricanes to destroy lives, but I want to be able to work, but I don't want it to come to where I'm gone all the friggin' time. You know what I mean? I think you understand that. So, back to the topic at hand. Sorry about that little rant, but I know what's going to happen. People are going to be tweeting about this stuff, and you're going to see it, and it's going to be like, oh, here it comes. We're still a couple of weeks or more away, all right? So, interesting areas for sure. This does have the designation as 99L, I do believe it's called. And the L is for Atlantic, by the way. The L is for Atlantic. Actually, we refer to it as AL99, but we shorten it to 99L. Invest area 99L. Nice curvature on this. I'll show you a close-up of that in a minute. Another disturbance through here, and then another one that really flared up there in the Gulf of Mexico, approaching Texas and Louisiana, already interacting with them. So here it is if we put it all into motion, courtesy of Levi Cowan's website, tropicaltidbits.com. Let's don't forget that we also have activity over here in the Pacific, and I'll need to show you that in a minute. I just realized I do not have Eastern Pacific Hurricane Center stuff pulled up, so we'll do that in just a moment, because we do need to pay attention to these areas. So we have, these systems in the Pacific, there, this one here, and then the one out here. So more activity. And here's what is interesting. Now, again, on the keeping it real and on the, keeping it all in perspective, yes, there's a big uptick. And no, I don't think it's quite time yet. But it is interesting that this is all happening while a suppressed phase of a convectively coupled Kelvin wave is moving through. And if you're like, what is that? It's just not very favorable right now, okay? And yet this is happening. So that's another way to look at it. But again, I guess a third way to look at it is if we didn't have that suppressed phase, it would be game on, absolutely. But it is interesting to note that we do have this suppressed phase of a Kelvin wave moving in this direction. That's basically sinking air, more shear, less moisture. One way to look at it. Just not favorable. The background state, the intraseasonal state, is just not quite there yet. And imagine if it was. So that's part of the Western Hemisphere. Let's slide over to the east a little bit more. Here's our disturbances, the one in the Gulf, the other one in the Straits, or the Bahamas, almost to the Florida Straits. And then out here, you might look at that and go, dude, there's hardly anything there. Well, wait until I show you the close-up visual of it in just a moment. And then here's that westerly wind component associated with the monsoon, the West African monsoon, more convection coming off Africa, and it just goes on and on and on. All right, so let's look at the vorticity. We take this and we kind of peel it away and we look and see what does the structure look like. There we go, bundling the energy. That's a good sign for something trying to develop. And in this case, it is a good sign because it's not going to be a hurricane, it's not going to be a named storm, and it will bring, and is already bringing some rain to Texas. So that's a good thing, and it won't be too much rain overall. This is kind of tangled up over Cuba, but there's another sign of the bundling. And then there's our little area out in the tropical Atlantic trying to get its act together. And that, my friends, is the most organized of all of them. See how it's nice and bundled? It's pretty close to this, but I think this is the winner right here. So let's see which one. I think it's this one. Let's take a close-up look. Wow. It's small, because it has to. It's got to kind of stay low, keep its head down, because there's a bunch of dry air all around it. But look at what it's got going for it. It's got this intertropical convergence zone connection, very noticeable spin in there, limited overall convective activity or thunderstorms because, again, the background state through here is one of sinking air, not fostering rising air. The water's warmer than average, but there's just not that impetus to get the air to rise. It's not there. And so this isn't going to develop too much more. But I'm going to tell you, as I show you towards the end here, we're going to take a look at, it's almost like a segment. What are people saying on Twitter? I should just call it that, right? We're going to see what people are saying on Twitter about it, and you'll see some interesting things. But that's got the most chance right now of becoming a tropical depression. And I mean, look, there's even some convection there with it on that west side. Telling you what, we've seen weaker and more disorganized looking depressions in the past, if you ask me. So we'll see. It's got to persist as well. So we'll get rid of that. We'll go back to this. Our two systems nearer to land areas. This one's tangled up over the Bahamas. Little bit of turning with this, not much. Definitely more turning with this system, but still not a lot. Kind of a curved signal to it overall. The yellow speckles, I need to remind you, those are lightning flashes that are detected from the GOES 16 lightning detector. I'm sure it's got a better term or a more scientific term than that. But they show up as yellow speckles, and that's kind of cool. And yes, Louisiana, all the way over to coastal Texas, you're going to get some rain, squally conditions, boaters, the oil interest offshore, kind of squally and probably make for some great shelf cloud pictures coming up. But other than that, and bringing some rainfall to the rain gauges, this is not going to be a big problem. Ponding of water on the roadways, etc. Use common sense, but no, not going to become a storm or a hurricane. This might become a tropical storm before it's all said and done, headed towards this area. We'll look at why I think that in just a moment. But I don't think it's going to be too big of a deal. And again, the reason is, with all that warm water, you're probably going, dude, why aren't both of these going to just take off? It's that background state. There's that kick. And if that kick is not there, they don't develop. At least they don't develop very quickly. And in this case, that's good because it's coming. Believe me, it's coming. Not with these systems, but in the future. Real quick look at the radar. We can click and zoom in. I love this feature. This is out of Lake Charles. Put this into motion very fast for you. Nope, it's not going to let me. I forgot about the stinking... whatever. Just screw it. Fine. It's going to rain in parts of Texas and Louisiana. You can go to weather.gov and look at it yourself. Let's move on to the Euro, shall we? So this is the European 850 millibar forecast. Goes out to 10 days, and we'll look at the full 10 days just for the heck of it. What are our players? Well, here's the system. Let's use something that shows up, shall we? Blue. There's the system 99L. Here's the other one in the Cuba, Bahamas area. And here's the one currently off of Texas. All right, you got your bearings there. This is every 24 hours. This is the current map. So here it is on Tuesday morning. Look what happened. That gets closed off. And I know you're like, dude, calm down. But remember what I said early on, weeks ago. If we get 1 to 3 named storms in this region, the main development region in July, then I believe we have a chance at a historic hurricane season. This has a chance to become a tropical depression and maybe even briefly a tropical storm. The European, and look how small it is. And because it is so small, the resolution of the computer model that it shows even that much more energy and staying power, whatever you want to call it, gusto, umph, right? UMPH. That's remarkable because this is a global model. The resolution is not that tight for this area, and yet there it is for such a small system. What else is going on? There's the system coming across by this time tomorrow in the southeast Gulf. The other one is inland over Texas, and more energy coming off of Africa. 48 hours out, it's still there, and it's got another little height line with it. I'm telling you, it won't surprise me if that becomes Tropical Storm Gonzalo, even for a day or so. Doesn't matter. It's in the heart of the MDR, and it would count. This looking a little bit more interesting in the Gulf there. This is Wednesday morning, and more systems coming off Africa, of course. By Thursday morning, enough of that Saharan air probably gets ingested into this system that's rolling off of Africa that it'll start to wane away. Again, that background state, overall not favorable, so yeah, it's got probably 48 hours and then it'll kind of die off. There's our system in the Gulf, trying to get its act together a little bit more. By Friday morning, that tightens up even more as it gets close to the Texas coast. The other system, 99L, whatever it becomes, still well east of the islands. Day 5, Saturday morning, this is inland over south central Texas. This is approaching the islands, very well organized for sure. Another system coming off, more energy over Africa, and the beat goes on and on and on, doesn't it? Finally, by day 6, day 7, we'll just stop at day 7. That makes the most sense. This large tropical wave, it kind of gets stretched, comes through the islands, and maybe something else to watch by day 7, some kind of interesting mid to upper level system off the Carolinas. Now, real quick, let's take a look at the Hurricane Center. Try again. And the East Pacific, because we do have interest out there. Nothing threatening Mexico, so don't worry about that at all. These are our two depressions, 7E, maybe, if it'll show up. There it is. Going to stay a depression, so no worries there. The next one, 8E. Now, this one looks like a player, and maybe for Hawaii down the road. It's like, really? Thought Hawaii was going to be off the hook this year, and they probably will be. But we've got to watch this. This one's got global model support for it to become a hurricane, the first one of the season out there, believe it or not. And yes, we do need to watch this in case it does have some impact on Hawaii, but that's more than 5 days out. I'll be on top of it. Now, what are people saying on Twitter? Well, not that. That's not. I'm just there. The weather. I like to filter out my politics. I should do that and have two separate Twitters, but whatever. This is what I wanted to show you. Politics are important, but not in this discussion. Philippe here, good, like he's responding to what Levi said, and these people are just amazing. They're very, very smart. You collectively accumulate their knowledge, and you can really figure some things out. So here's what Levi's saying. Favorable trends in appearance for Invest 99L today. Convection remains limited. That's what I showed you. The circulation is tighter, more circular. The shear will lessen, and if the Saharan air layer to the north is not significantly entrained, the low could form a moist bubble that facilitates more convection. So there you go. See? Levi sees it. All kinds of, Philippe chimed in on it, which we can see that back over here. He says he seconds Levi's comments that it has a decent low-level vortex despite its latitude, and the latitude, when they're fairly low in latitude like that, it's hard for them to gain spin. But if it can persist the convection, and it's done this over the diurnal minimum, short-term Genesis prospects look positive as I try to interpret all that. So, yeah, I mean, it's coming together. We can look and see what Eric Webb has been saying lately. Here's his winter storm pin tweet, if you're interested in winter. Arctic sea ice stuff, and then this. The main development region information that I was showing you, just incredible. Pulled even with 2010. This is what it looked like 2010. This is what it looks like now, and we're pretty much dead even. Wow. The system may be threatening Hawaii. Let's just check one more source here. Andy Hazelton. He's also extremely smart. I like this guy. This is interesting. Over the last few runs, the ECMWF has been steadily trending towards generally lower main development region pressures, and slightly more defined waves. And again, it's the old watched pot never boils. I understand, and we watch this every day, every hour, but it's getting there. It's coming. And the darker the blues, the deeper the background state pressures are, and we're swinging closer and closer towards the gates opening, and the season will take off. Real quick, also, Andy says it'll have a 99L very limited window for development because of the Saharan air layer that's going to be behind it. And that's what I was talking about. This thing, I've already gotten rid of it, but that little system down there, the Saharan air layer is coming. So if it can do something, it's got about 2 days, and maybe it will blossom. All right, so I want to talk to you about something else real quick. This is exciting. You're going to like it, and it's good news for everybody. Since 2004, I have been doing these films, if you will, documentaries, whatever you want to call them. They've all been feature-length, called Tracking the Hurricanes. 04, 05, 08, I did a 16, a 15-16 version, a 17 and an 18, and they've gotten better. I do my own music, I narrate them, and, they're pretty good. I didn't go to film school. I put together on a laptop, and I just do what I think people would like. And they've been received quite favorably for, 16 years now? That's pretty good. So I decided this past year, after the 2019 season, to do something different and more challenging. And that is basically a television series, if that's just kind of, or an episode-based series, like a TV series would be if you watch TV, traditional TV. It's called, as you can see there, and you've maybe heard me talk about it a few months ago, The Hurricane Highway. And it's perfect because it's both metaphorical and quite literal, and it's a journey down that hurricane highway as we look back at 2019's adventures, but we're going to use interviews with lots of people, flashbacks to previous events that helped to shape what we did in 2019, right? So using flashbacks, just like television shows will do. I think of that show Lost, and how many, they really introduced the idea of flashbacks. But this is reality TV. This is not science fiction like Lost was. So we'll take a look back as an example when we talk about Tropical Storm Barry, which was last July. I show you the Barry that I was in 2001 with my colleague Jesse Bass. When we look at Dorian, we look at past events that I had dealt with in Florida and the Carolinas and whatever. You'll see. And that helps to shape the story. The past helping to make the present, and in this case last year's hurricane season, possible. People along the way that have influenced me, you're going to love it. 8 episodes will be season 1, and I've already got 5 done. I'm working on the final 3. It's very hard. I'm going to admit it is the hardest thing I've ever done. I've got terabytes, literally, of video data, lots of these little micro SD cards and portable hard drives, you name it. I mean, here's one right here, loaded with historical data and video. Video is data. That's the way I look at it. And I try to compile it all together and make an interesting TV show. So it's already available on Patreon for all of our patrons, no matter what tier you're signed up at or on, whatever. I'm going to make it, and here's the really good news. I'm going to make it available once it's all said and done, actually one at a time, but we're getting there. I'm so excited I can hardly talk. August 1st, let me just get to it. I'm going to make it available, starting 1 episode at a time every week on YouTube and Amazon Prime Video at no additional cost or no cost there. So if you're already a patron, it's included. Does that make sense? And then I'm going to put it on YouTube, monetize it, of course. I mean, I have to earn a living. I think I have the right to do that. I mean, come on. But I'm not going to charge a fee on Amazon or YouTube, but it'll be included with Patreon as a benefit. Does that make sense? So the first episode is coming out in about 11 days. And I think you're really, really going to like this. Our current patrons who've already seen the first 5 episodes, you know. And wait until you see how it ends. The ending of the first season, episode 8, I will tell you that it's all about Typhoon Tisoy that our colleague Brent tackled for the HurricaneTrack brand last year in the Philippines. It's our first typhoon. I wasn't there in person. Brent went. He's one of our patrons and our field ops guys, and he went. And as I tie it all together, I'm telling you the ending is chilling. And that's all I'm going to say. I love films. We don't have any movies coming out right now thanks to virus. And so this is the next best thing, except it's all real. It's got a great soundtrack. The music is the best I've ever done. I'm very proud of it, and I'm proud to announce that it's going to be available already on Patreon, going to be on YouTube, going to be on Amazon Prime Video. So if you've got Prime, it'll be included with Prime. All right, August 1st, first episode. It's called The First Miles. It shows how I got into this, some interviews with some people. You'll see. It's going to be awesome. All right, so look forward to that. And hey, thanks to our patrons for making it possible. They literally helped to fund it. And that's amazing. It really, really is. The power of crowdfunding is allowing me to do things that I never would be able to do, and it's benefiting a lot of people. So if you want to get involved, the link is always in the description of the videos, and that's how you find it there. You type it in, patreon.com/HurricaneTrack. Thank you all for making it possible. Don't forget, too, I'm on Twitter @HurricaneTrack, youtube.com/HurricaneTrack. Subscribe and be a part of all this, all right? Long today, as it usually is on Monday, but we got a lot to talk about, so we did. And a busy week ahead. I'll stay on top of it for you, and we'll see what happens, all right? As always, thank you for tuning in from your side of the screen. I appreciate it more than you'll ever know. I always value your feedback, your comments. 99.9% of the people are very positive and supportive, and that's awesome, especially in this day and age. So keep it coming. Have a great rest of your Monday. I am Mark Sudduth, HurricaneTrack.com. I'll be back with more for you tomorrow.